Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov, Abe.
How are you?
I'm good, thank God.
Good. How's the baby?
The baby's Baruch Hashem good.
You had the bris and everything?
Bris, everything went fine.
Good.
Beautiful. How are things in Los Angeles?
Fine.
Good. Mario?
Hello.
Hi,
Shavua
Mario.
Tov. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
How are things?
What was that?
How are things there?
Very nice. It was much. I'm in Yerushalayim now, so there's less sirens here.
Okay.
I
Thank
slept.
God.
I slept through the night without a siren.
You have a cold.
No.
You sound.
No.
Sciences.
Yeah, just some allergy.
Vach.
Good vach, Harold. Good vach.
Good. Oh.
There we go.
Hello. Who's here?
Harold.
Here.
No, but apart from you, who's here?
Abe.
I'm here.
Oh, Abe. Good work,
Yep.
Abe.
Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. So we shouldn't take a shower, Harold, in a Lufthansa plane?
Right. Just say no. Where are we holding?
75.
Oh, okay, good.
No?
Okay. Baruch atah Baruch shakol nivro.
Me.
Me.
Shavua Tov, guys.
Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Ayin Hey. Tomorrow night, God willing, we'll do the same thing, 9 p.m. because it's 7 a.m. for me here. Ayin Hey. So we had a Gzeir Shava. By the mincha, it says to put oil in the mincha. I'll call korbancha, right? Makan matan shemen bekli. By minchas marcheshes, which is a deep fried mincha, you put shemen in the kli first. Aflahalan matan shemen bekli. So by the other mincha also, by the machvas, you put the shemen in the kli before you put the flour. Umalahalan yitzika ublila. And by the machvas, so the Gzeir Shava goes, the equation goes back and forth. By the machvas, it says yitzika, that you pour shemen on the mincha, ubelila, and you mix it with the flour. Avkan, by the machbas also, even though it doesn't say it directly there, by the marcheshes, we learned through the Gzeir Shavat to machbas is yitzika ublila. So that's why the Mishnah learned that there are three yitzika. First you put shemen in the kli, then you do yitzika and blila, and that's by all the menachos, except exceptions. We'll see soon which ones are the exceptions. Alois boilalon. Now, how you actually process the shemen, the Mishnah was a machlokas, that when you mixed the mincha with oil, it's interesting. According to Rebbe, they were already baked into loaves before you mixed it with oil. Chalos boilon divrei Rebbe. Chachamim amrin soiles. No, the oil is mixed when it's in the flour state, still flour. Torah beno. Soles blula, malamich and ivlela soles. That's where the Chachamim learn that the oil is mixed directly with the flour. Rebbe oimer chalois balulon, shenemar chalois belulois. Another pasuk implies that it has to be baked into a loaf already, and then you mix it. Omru lo, so the Chachamim said to Rebbe, v'halolach me toida nemer bahen chalois. When you brought a korban toda, there were 40 loaves of bread that were brought with the shlamim. Now, they're called chalois. Nemer kan chalois. Ve'efshel l'bololon kshein chalois elasoilis. Those chalois you would not. There are two. You won't. There's only a third. I think it's a third of the loig shemen, and Myri Mikol Menachos to Alma. So it would be not possible to mix that small amount of oil with the 40 loaves of baked challah. Elasoilus. It must be, it's a proof to their shita that the oil is mixed when it's a flour. First, they put some of the shemen in the kli, before the chalos are made, then you put flour in, shemen aleha, then you put shemen again, uboilala, then you mix it, the lasha, and you knead it, the oifa, then you bake it, upoitata, you broke it into pieces. We're going to see they have to be broken into pieces the size of a kazayas. Finally, v'nosein aleh shemen. Then there's yitzika, which was shemen put on top of the loaves after they were baked. V'koimes. Then you did kmitza. Then the kmitza was thrown on the fire. The loaves could be eaten at that point. What does Rebbe do with this procedure? Rebbe oimer. Chalois boilolon. You mix it as chalois. Shenemar chalois blulois b'shemen. Ketzedoisa. How do you do it? Noisen shemen b'kli. First, you put shemen in the kli, koim lasiyasa, before you baked the loaves, and then v'noisna. Then you put flour in, and then lasha. You kneaded it. V'oif, and you baked it. Poitita, and then you broke it into pieces, and then v'noisna lea shemen. Boilala. You mixed it in that stage after you broke it into pieces. That explains a little bit how you could take a small amount of oil and mix it with the baked loaves because you had broken it into pieces. Think about it. Think about croutons. Like croutons even smaller than the kazayas. But so they were, small pieces of bread broken into pieces. And they were mixed. And then you needed yitzika, finally. Then you put shemen on top of that whole mixture, the koimetz, and you did the kmitz. Now, the Gemara didn't understand. What did the Rabbanan mean when they told Rabbi, you can't do it. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, Revius Shemeni. It's only a Revius Loig Shemen. It's not very much oil. Think about it. We are going to, this week, drink Revius Yayin for the Dalit Koisos. And a Revius is, according to Rav Moshe, it's 3.3 ounces. It's not very much. And Hechemis Lakachas Lakamachalos. The question Rebbe had, the question the Chacham had to Rebbe was, how can you take such a small amount of oil and mix it with those loaves? Okay. Then the Mishnah said, Hachalois, Tu'una, Belula, Rikika, and Meshicha. There were three sort of processes with oil. Belila was mixing it. Oh, I'm sorry. When you brought, one of the forms of a mincha was chalois. And either you brought 10 loaves or 10 wafers. Now, if you remember, there was a machlokes. Reb Shimon held that you could bring 5 and 5. According to the Chacham, it's either 10 of one or 10 of the other. But but the challah, the baked loaf, not the wafer, you mixed the oil, and the for the wafer you actually anointed. We're going to see you put like an X with the oil on top of the wafer. Torah. Chalois blulois v'lo rekikin blulin. It's the baked loaf where you actually mixed the oil, not the wafer. Shiyachol v'haludinhu, because I could have learned a kal v'chomer. Uma chalois she'enan tu'unas mashicha. The chalois do not require that final step of applying oil like a key, like an X, like the Greek. We're going to see in a minute. The key was chi, was a Greek letter chi, like an X, according to the Rambam. The chalois didn't need mashicha, but it needed blila rikik in the wafers. Shetu'unin mashicha, they required the kai placed like an X on it. Enodin shetu'unin blula. Certainly, it should require blula as well. Talmud loymar. That's why the pasuk says chalois blulos, and we darshan v'lo rikikin blulin. Then we also do a drasha. Rikikin meshuchin v'lo chalos meshuchos. Only the wafers get this meshicha, not the chalos. And I would have had a havamina sheyachol v'halodinu. I could have learned a kal v'chomer. Umar rikikin she'enan tu'unin blulo. The wafers don't require mixing with the oil when you make the dough. Yet, at the end, tu'unin meshicha chalois she'tu'unin blila. The chalos that required mixing, eino din she'tu'unos meshicha, it certainly, you would think, from logic, would require meshicha. Talmud loymar rikikin, we needed a drasha from the pasuk. Rikikin meshuchin v'lo chalois meshuchos. My Talmuda. I mean, why did you end up, you could have learned the other way. Amarava, lo lishtameit, let the Torah have been clear. V'lichtov chalos meshuchos urikikin blulin. Then I would have said each could have gone for both. We have the drasha because it didn't write it that way. Ketzad moishchin kimin ki. Ketzad moishchin. So the wafers that required meshicha, the Mishnah said, how did you do it? Kimin ki, like a key, which we don't know what that means. V'hasha'ar nechal. After you did the kmitza, you ate the remainder. My kimin ki. What does it mean that they did it like a key? Amrav kana kimin ki vani. The Greek letter ki, kai, which is an X, RX, was the Greek letter chi, like delta chi, like the fraternities at UCLA had 3 Greek letters, delta, 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 the tridels, or tau chi, and the key was an X. Torah Rabbanan. So remember, there is a sheet of Reb Shimon that you could bring 5 chalos, 5 rikikin. So maybe loig shemen, you start off with a loig, v'chotzeyu, and you divide the loig into half. Chetzev lechalos, half of the loig went for those baked loaves, v'chetzev l'rikikin, and half went for the wafers. The chalos, you process it the way we say chalos have to be tried, which is boilon, which was you mix the oil with the flour. And then the rikikin moshkin, then the rikikin, you just apply it, anoint it like the letter X. You used as much shemen to apply it on the whole side of the wafer. Now, ushar hashemen machzir lechalos. After you're done applying the yitzika, the meshicha on the wafer, the remaining shemer was given to the chalos. Rab Shimon ben Yehuda mishum Rab Shimon Omer, moishkin kamin ki, ushar shemen nechal kohanim. You didn't have to, after you applied the oil like an X on the wafers, the shemen was eaten by the kohanim. They dipped their bread in this shemen, right? They dipped it in olive oil. Okay. Tanidich. Rikikin aboin b'fnei atzman. If you offered a mincha rikikin by itself, without chalos, maybe log shemen. You still start off with a log shemen, umoishchan, and you apply, like we said, kimin ki, the choizer moishchan, you do it again, at shich kol shemen shebelog. You do it again and again and again until you use up all the oil. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda omer mishum Reb Shimon moishchan kimin ki ushar shemen nechal kohanim. He's consistent that you use the oil for this Mashiach, and then the remainder of the oil could be eaten by the Kohan. Mishnah. Kolam nachos anaisos peklita unan petita. All the minchas that were made in a kli, after you completed baking them or cooking them or frying them or however you prepared them, you broke them into pieces, except the ones that were not made in a kli. And the Gemara is going to ask us which ones are those. Limeute mai. What menachos are we excluding that were not made in a kli? So they, if you remember, they were baked in the oven. And the oven was not a kli. And they were miskadesh in the oven. So they were not miskadesh in a kli like the rest of the menachos. Therefore, shtei lechem and lechem aponim were not broken into pieces. The pasuk says, "Patot otapitim." We just laned it. I think we laned it in Parshas Vayikra. Patot otapitim, break it into pieces. Mincha lerabis kolam nochas leptita. So the Brisa starts off by saying that seems to imply that all menachos get broken into pieces. I might think you have to include. Remember, the shtei lechem was brought on Shavuos with the shnei chvasim. The lechem aponim was brought every week, and it was left on the shulchan for a week, and then it was eaten on Shabbos. Talmud loymar oisa, to exclude the shtei lechem aponim. Then it says v'yatzak to shemen mincha l'rabbis kol hamnochas liyitzika. All the menachos require some form of yitzika. Yachol shnimar be'af mincha mafeh. I might think that the baked mincha, because the baked mincha we learned, you didn't do yitzika, you did blila. Talmud amar aleh hashemen, only on the rokik. Oats is a chalos, oats is a kikin. So I remove the chalos don't get the yitzika, and I don't remove the rikikin. Talmud amar he. Again, the Gemara doesn't understand ma Talmud. How did you get this drasha? Ema loitzi minchas kohanim. Maybe it has nothing to do with the rikikin or the minchas, the chalos. Maybe it excludes the minchas kohanim. Amarabba, Ezeu davar shetzarich shnei miutim hevi omer ze minchas mafeh. What mincha by its nature, because the minchas mafeh, the baked mincha, has two forms, chalos and rikikin. So there it makes more logical sense to have a miut of yitzika for the minchas mafeh. Period. Mishnah. Minchas Yisrael. Now, a donative mincha could be offered by any Jew. And now menachos were not eaten by the Jews. It was only eaten by Kohanim. But the Minchas Yisrael was eaten after the Kmitza. And this Mishnah is going to tell us how they broke it into pieces. Minchas Yisrael koifel echad l'shnayim. They folded into two. And then ushnaim la'arba. Once it was folded into two, it was folded again into four. And then umavdil. And then they separated the pieces in that fashion. Minchas Kohanim, remember, the Minchas Kohanim was not eaten by anybody. Koifel echad l'shnayim, ushnaim la'arba, ve'eno mavdil. You left it folded, but you didn't break it into pieces. Minchas Kohen Mashiach, that's the Minchas Chavitn that the Kohen Gadol brought every day. It was also completely burnt. Lo haya mekaflo. The Tanna Kama says they didn't fold that one at all. Reb Shimon Omer Minchas Kohanim u'Minchas Kohen Mashiach ein bohem petita. That the third opinion, that the Minchas Kohanim and Minchas Kohen Mashiach, you did not break into pieces at all. Mipnei she'ein bohem kmitza. There's no kmitza by them. Remember, the whole thing goes burnt. If there's no kmitza, there's no breaking up. Now, those menachos, says this Mishnah, that are broken into pieces, kulan poitin kazesim. You break it up so that it's a kazayas. Ton rabbanon. It says pasos osa pisim. Pasos yachol ishnayim. So maybe just sort of fold it in half. That's how you break it. Talmud Lemer, no, pitim. I pitim yachol yasena pirurim. Well, maybe you should make it into crumbs. Talmud Lemer, oisa. Oisa leptitim velo psisa lepsisim. That means only the original fold needs to go smaller, but not everything. Haketza. And the Baraisa explains like our Mishnah. Minchas Yisrael koifel echad l'shnayim l'shnayim la'arba u'mavdil, and then you break it. Minchas Kohanim v'kol Mashiach hayam mekaflo. Period. Fragti more v'anant than lo hayam mekaflo. But our Mishnah says it didn't break. Amarabba eina mekaflo la'arba. It's not folded into four. Aval mekaflo l'shnayim. Okay, so you can see that there was these are very detailed processes. And, the Tanoim, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi only wrote down the Mishnah in the year like 180 CE. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed 70 CE, so 110 years before. So you could see that over this period of time, they had forgotten some of the details of the procedure. And Rabbah was an Amoira 200 years later, after Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He comes and says, so you can see these were Messiahs that were handed down, but you can see there was already machlokas and how these various procedures were enacted physically in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. Reb Shimon Omer, Minchas Kohanim, Minchas Kohen Mashiach, and Psisa, that there was no Psisa at all. Amr Rav Yosef, Hai Chavitza. Now there's a machlokas Rishonim at length what exactly a Chavitza is, but to me, it sounds like a kugel or some kind of like a bread pudding or bread stuffing. It's pieces of bread made in with eggs and like a dish. The pieces of bread. So hai chavitza de ispa pirurin kazayas. And if it has pieces that are the size of a kazayis, mavarchen al hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We had this in Tzurba when we learned brachas. That if you look at a dish and it looks like it still looks like a piece of bread, right? If it's been broken small enough that you don't see that it was ever bread, then that has bar minei mezonos. But if you can see that it has it looks like there's a bread in there, and so here the Gemara says that it has to do with the size kazayis, and the bracha that it's made is amotzi lechem haaretz. If the pieces are less than the kazayis, then you make a bar minei mezonos. On Rav Yosef, but I mean Allah. Where's the source for this? Titania. Haya oimeru makriv menachos b'Yerushalayim. The Kohen was performing and being makriv a mincha in the base of Mikdash. Oimer baruch shechianu kimanu. So first they made a bracha shechianu. Then notlan la'achlan. When he went to eat it, Omar oimer hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Utnan the kulan petitin bekazayis. We also learned in the Mishnah that they were broken up into pieces the size of kazayis. So that's the raya. Amli abaya, ulatad Rabbi Shmuel. The amr mefarchinan ad shemachzirin lesaltan. Hachanami d'lo mevarach hamotzi. Now, the Yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel said that when they broke it up so fine that it was like fine flour. And what are you going to tell me? They didn't make hamotzi based on your rule? And l'chitei hachanami, you'll say yes, v'atanya. Liket mikulon kazayis v'achlo. If he gathered enough of this dish so that he had a kazayis and he ate it, so im chametz onesh kares. We're talking about if it's Pesach and he ate a kazayis of this mincha. If it was chametz, you'd get kares on Pesach, implying that it's mamish regular bread. And im matzahu, if it was not chametz but matzah, and it was the Seder night, Adam yoytze ben yedei chavoso b'Pesach, you would fulfill your mitzvah of eating matzah in Pesach. So it seems like even if it's less than a kazayis, it has the status of bread. So hachamay eskinon b'she'ir son. You clumped it together and you made it the size of a kazayis. That's what it means, geshe'ir son. So either to get kares or to fulfill the matzah, you have to eat the kazayis within a 9-minute period. That's considered b'chtei achilas pras. The period means you can't nibble on it for 2 hours. If it took you 2 hours to eat the kazayis, you wouldn't get kares, you wouldn't fulfill matzah. That's why the Seder night, Wednesday night, we're matbit to eat the matzah at least within a 9-minute period. That's b'chtei achilas pras to get the mitzvah of matzah. So the Gemara is saying in that brayso it says v'hushachol mechlech l'spras v'ibes she'ir son. It should have said she'achlo, not achlan. Achlan is plural, means you still have multiple pieces. But the Gemara said that it can't work unless you clumped it together into one. That's keshe'ir son. And if it's true that you're talking about keshe'ir son, it should have said she'achlo l'boile. You ate it, not you ate them. Because initially it started from a lechem gadol. So we have she'adayin hu be'en hakikar, and that big lechem gadol is still there. Shebomi menu, that it came from. Varei choshuv ubar bracha. It explains, even though it's now less than the kazayis, why it requires a bracha. Hilkach pirurin nami shalokton, you need to make those brachos. Okay. However, the Gemara wants to know what the maskana is. Ma'avi Allah. Afilu pirurin. She'ein ben kazayis, you'd still make hamotzi. Amarava v'hu de'ika teresa denama elayu. Oh, Rava says, but it has to look like bread. Look at Rashi. Tirusa denama, she'eben mare lechem. V'lo yishor kol kach she'ein nira as a pas lechem olav. Right? We know you have certain, if it's broken up into such small pieces, you don't know whether it's bread or not. But if you can see, like sometimes you look at bread stuffing, oh yeah, that's a piece of bread there. So, and that's la halacha. You can see the Shulchan Aruch paskins like this rava that has to have the appearance of bread. Okay, very good, everybody.